under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A special meeting is scheduled for Friday, March 19th, 2021 at 9 a.m. at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida. A regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors is scheduled for Friday, April 9th, 2021 at the Community Center, 3500 Edgewater Drive, Sebring, Florida. Consent agenda. We have a motion.
I move to approve. Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah. Do we do it now? I actually had a couple of questions on the treasurer's report, and I had called Omar, and they were in regards to why our sewer and water collections were not as much as they were last year, because I was thinking with all the buildings that we had, new home construction, that we should be ahead. So I asked him to check it out.
So I did research into that. It looks like we're $23,000 behind pace of last year's, mainly the sewer revenue. There's a couple issues that we found. First of all, being for the majority of our billing system right now, we're estimating not getting accurate readings from our system. 50% of our system is not working, which is part of the newer conversation that we've been having over the month. So last year we were billing for about 19 million gallons for October, November, December. We're currently only billing for about 16 million gallons. So we're down 3 million gallons per month. And that's a combination of single-family residences as well as Tanglewood and Port Hawken, which are our biggest commercial entities. Without an accurate system, it's going to be difficult to find out where that issue may be coming from, because there's so many estimations. So not having accurate data, it's very difficult to find out where we're having a problem, whether it's new construction, old homes. We're just not reporting as much as we were last year because of that reason.
You would think that we would be up, right?
We should be up, right? So that is very concerning for me. Last year we could have been billing too much. Maybe the meters were not calibrated properly. We could have been getting bad reads last year, or it could be this year that we're just getting bad reads in the low, or we're estimating too low. So an example would be, let's say an average consumption for a home is 10,000 gallons. You could be using 15,000 gallons per month, but because I don't have the data that day, I'm only going to bill you for 10. So I'm leaving 5,000 gallons on the table until we have time to go and read that meter and get an accurate reflection of that home.
I forgot, when did we take the last increase?
At the beginning of the last year, or
Last year we had an increase, so it was the budget meeting.
So we took the last increase last summer?
All of last year had an increase in it.
So this year should
Also have it in there. We're right on pace for budget. Once again, the sewer is like $23,000 behind last year's pace. But the usage is way down, $3 million gallons per month compared to last year.
is your estimate number down compared to last year?
It is.
Why would you be estimating less with more residents?
No, my estimates are higher this year. So I'm estimating 50% of the meters. So if we have 3,800 meters, I'm doing 1,900 estimates now because I have no data. Those MTUs are not transporting data. Last year we were at 500 to 600 when we started this litigation discussion with Mueller. So we've doubled or tripled the amount of no reads that we have in our system. Last month we were at 100% no reads at all. I was going from scratch to start building. So we are at a very concerning, alarming rate when it comes to our water and building.
I think, guys, you need to understand that we can't possibly read 3,800 meters a month, and that's why there's so many are being estimated.
So do we anticipate the end of the year will be ahead? I mean, is that a safe assumption, or
ahead of what?
Last year?
I think I think we're in line with budget. I think we're going to be right on line. I think because of new construction and building, to be on pace with last year, it's going to depend on estimations and whether we can get the system up and running. As soon as we get a system up and running, it'll work itself out. Right now, I just have no way to know accurate data to build.
Is it the same meters? Could we not establish some kind of a rolling read of those bad ones?
We do. We do already. You just can't do that many physically. You know, they have to go to each one of them, open the box, and there's just not enough days in the week or enough man hours.
So just at our highest point where we were going out and doing physical reads with all our utility staff, we were at 500 no reads. And that took us about a week and a half. That was every single utility staff coming on board and borrowing some of the road department. We're at 1,900 now, so it's 4 times as fast. It would take us a month to get through all of them. So we could do 400 this month, 400 next month, and kind of play that game to catch up. But it's still a large task for our staff.
It's really labor intense to do it, and I mean, like Omar was saying, we were doing, we had all the water guys doing it. We also took guys from Georgia's crews doing it. We also used security guys to do it. Trying to catch up, it's just impossible. So
We're just losing money, right?
exactly.
Well, that's,
Well,
But he's been
but sooner or later you'll catch it up.
Huh?
Sooner or later you'll catch it up when we
Sooner or
actually
later.
get accurate reads.
we do
Of course, you may have some unhappy customers when they get a big water bill, and they're not going to recognize they had a low water bill for a couple of months. It's a real problem, and that's the reason we're trying to figure out what to do with the air and what to do to replace all this stuff, even with putting in with somebody else.
So, just to your point, we are losing money, but to be only behind pace $20,000 with such a big issue is comforting in a sense, because we could be down $100,000, $200,000 if Florida Hospital goes down, if Tanglewood goes down. We're talking large accounts, so we are still pretty much in line. $20,000 over 3 months, we'll make that up, but we do have a big issue on our hands as far as long term and getting it back to being accurate again going forward.
I think what Ray's saying is that you need to stay on it and let us know a little bit what's going on, each meeting, and try to find out. Are we still doing half of them 1 month?
We're not doing.
We're not doing
close
any.
to half. We're doing about 400 a month, something like that. 400 is all we can do. And there's 1,900 that aren't reading. So you got to get an accurate reading once every 5 or 6 months. On the rest of the thing goes down.
I'm sure the last time I asked, we were doing half. I know they really
That was
went
when we
on.
only had 500 and something.
That's when we had 500 and we were fully staffed. We lost Israel, we lost some of our technicians, we lost Rob Dingle. So as we're replacing new guys, we're retraining, going and get accurate reads versus estimating just isn't on the top of the priority, but we will get back to a program at some point in time.
They may have to train me to go do it.
We're going to fix it with either Mueller or finding a new system. That's our highest priority right now for the district to replace that program.
And I think, Ray, I think Dave's going to address that later on in the meeting. So, but just so you get Ray's point, that we need to.
Yeah, we'll keep you up to date as far as progression on that.
Okay.
We've actually met with other
I did mention to them that I was shocked to see
Yeah.
that we're still doing business with this company.
I cannot get out.
We wrote him a check last month for $3,000. That's ridiculous. We're going to sue him for writing a check. That's not good.
Your estimates,
Go ahead.
are your estimates, when you do the actuals on 400,
Yeah.
is your estimates accurate? Or do you need to increase your estimates?
So we go conservative. We use 12 months of your average use. So your last 12 months, if you had 4 months of very low use and very poor, we take the average of that too. So I'm not going to bill you super high. I'm not going to bill you super low. We stay right in the median. So we may be leaving some on the table. We may not. It's just the best accurate prediction I can use based on the trend and data that I have.
Okay.
As far as rate's concerned, because we have Mueller products in the ground, the only way I can get a transmission for Southern Homes, Hornet Homes, any new construction, is to put another Mueller product in the ground. If I go out there and put a Hurley product in the ground, it's not going to communicate with my Mueller product. It's just not going to work. This is an all-inclusive program, so we either need to divulge from Mueller altogether or continue to piecemeal and try to work with Mueller to get reads. But you can't buy Mueller product. So Mueller products is still going to be a Mueller product whether I buy from Mueller or from the other source. I'll be paying an upcharge to the other source, correct? I understand, but how do I tell Southern Homes I'm not going to give you a meter because of the situation? I still have to give them a water meter. I still have to give them service. The reading issue is a district issue that we need to work with Mueller on that side.
I think you gotta do just the best you can, but just keep us informed.
I just want to clarify. We've got how many units and how many units are operational and how many do we have manually?
3,800 total meters in the ground. 1,900 fully operational, so we're at 50% capacity. So the 1,900 is what we're going to have to go out and read, estimate every month. The other 1,900 I'm getting data and reads from.
And wouldn't a number of snowbirds that didn't come because of COVID lower the amount? Isn't that part of why we would be lower? Or do you think it's really just bad estimates?
I think it's bad estimates. That would pay, so the district still charges a base fee. Those snowbirds may have some consumer...
You're talking about lower gallons.
Lower gallons, right.
So
my bigger concern is the commercial accounts to make sure those, because that's where we're going to get the biggest impact. When I hear 3 million gallons, that's a lot of usage for a residential single-family home. So it automatically triggers my alert to go to Tanglewood, Florida Hospital, Florida Joint and Spine. Some of those bigger water meters where maybe there's a leak and that water's going out and we're losing that. Maybe it's before the meter. So maybe in our system that we're losing water and not getting to bill it because of infiltration or cracks. But not having accurate meters at those locations tell me this account's extremely low compared to last year. So
if you have 50% of the meters working, wouldn't that be a good representation of what the other 50% should be?
Not necessarily. So just because Mike Hurley's meter's working and he's using 4,000 gallons, you could be using 10,000 gallons and yours not working. So I wouldn't charge you for 4.
But if 50% are providing you accurate data, I guess why couldn't we use that other 50% to say that's what it should equal that at least? And I don't know if that would make up the difference or not, but I'm asking the question.
As I understand it, we're using each individual's past performance to judge what we're estimating now.
I understand that, but I'm saying if 50% provides you X, wouldn't it be somewhat fair to say that the other 50% should be providing X?
It's a good estimate. It could be a good estimate.
Just throwing it out.
So this is a major concern. This is a high priority. Not sure if we've communicated that properly as we discussed Mueller, but this is getting to the point where we can no longer manage it internally to get accurate reads. If a customer calls in and gets a high bill, it's very difficult for us to troubleshoot and tell them why it's that high, or if they have a leak. We used to be able to tell them every hour how much usage you were using and where you had a leak and give you that in advance before you got a high bill. So getting a new system for sure
is there any way we can send a postcard or something to the residents whose meters are not working correctly so they know we're estimating? Or is it on the bill that
typically someone will call. If it's off, we get a call and we'll tell them, hey, listen, we had to estimate this is what's going on, and kind of give them a heads up. But we have not been proactive in alerting that your bill may be higher or lower.
You're sending me a bill that's in line with what I've been paying, and all of a sudden I find out 6 months from now that you just hadn't read my meter and I was using a lot more and you're going to give me a big bill. I'm going to be shocked.
That's what's good. And that's happened on a few instances.
If I know that you're estimating my bill, then I'm not going to be quite as shocked when giving me a real. And I'm wondering, is it possible that we can even tell residents, rather than estimate, if you want to send us your reading, we can use that.
So
The meter, is that the one that's down in the black box?
it's in the pit. It's very difficult depending on where you are. It may be covered with dirt, soil, water. It's also depending on timing. So we do billing between a certain time frame. Right. If you don't give me that reading within that time frame,
But if we tell the resident that, your meter isn't working with our system, and we need to do manual reads, and we're going to have to estimate how much, you can give us a reading on this day.
yeah.
I mean, I used to send my gas company meter readings. They didn't have any other way to do it.
It could be an option. I think it would be a lot of intensive, troubleshooting on the district side.
We've got to do some troubleshooting. That's the bottom line. We've got to do some troubleshooting. We can't just
We should be able to at least let them know that we're estimating some bills. I think we can put that on everybody. That should be something. Asking somebody to go out and dig up the water meter is probably not going to happen.
Well, they don't have to, but we can give it to them as an option, so that we don't have to do an estimate.
Anything else?
Now, the last thing, I think Ray mentioned this during the treasury report, not sure if anyone else noticed it, but there was a $207,000 expense in the general fund financials for Golf Capital. That was the payment that was submitted for EasyGo for the golf cart fleet. So that showed up in January. We made a payment to them. In February, you'll see a return trade-in check that we received for $240,000. That's already been cashed and received. So those two did wash this year as we projected when we went through the RFP process. That's been complete this year. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. We have received the $240,000 check.
Okay. Any public comment on these two items? Okay. We need a motion, or not a motion, except, we need a roll call. What we need, not a motion.
Supervisor Hotelling,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Resolution B, number 2021-03/1605, a resolution of the Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to award the bid for the new community center roof project designated as RFP 21-02 to Quality Roofing for $45,900 for riveted roof option.
You want to address that on
Who's gonna handle
You asked us to get 3 estimates on 3 different, the asphalt, the metal roofing, and we put out for bidding with 5 bidders. Probably was the cheapest, but it's still a metal roof. It's warranted for 35 years. Well, it's warranted for 35 years. The screw, the metal is basically the same thing on the roof. So 35-year warranty is really good. It's going to match the same color here. It's going to show the little screws that you see where we don't have that on the district office, but it's about $17,000 cheaper to go with that one. And quality roofing is doing 2 jobs across the street. So, as they're working, I did talk to some residents, that live in those condos, and everything that they do is very professional. They go with the residents, they park where they're supposed to, so, I mean, I'm happy with that company.
Okay, I need a motion, I think.
Move to approve.
Okay, now, discussion between the board.
Have these people done work for us before, or just what you've seen here?
Just what I've seen here, is a former resident that has a company. He's been in business for a couple of years, and everybody who I talked to, is very happy with work, which I'm real surprised because that doesn't happen too often. You know, he's been very professional, everything he's done. And, you and I have talked to him, and, everything that we asked on the quotes were on, and so 5-year warranties. They're 5 years.
We always have to go with the lease expense service. So we figure out ways to make it. And that is because why is it?
It's just because of that's regular governmental work. How it, you have a basic reason. Do we have to do it? No, but if we don't do it, then we're inviting a big challenge. So we have to have a compelling reason not to accept the lowest bidder, the lowest, qualified bidder.
Okay. Any other discussion? Public comment on this item?
Supervisor Brooks?
Yes.
Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
Supervisor Hoteling?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Next item is a discussion on recreation summer camp. And I think we'll probably start with Gary on this. I'm sorry. Resolution number 2021-03-1606, a resolution of the Sun and Lake of Sebring Improvement District to approve the charter of the Sun and Lake Golf Committee. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, discussion?
I just had a question on page 6. It says, under committees, B1004, that's number 3. That's not...
We're not. This is not a sunshine committee. Those committees are advisory committees.
This is not the page.
Correct.
Even though it says...
If it isn't the sunshine committee, then why should it be here?
Yeah, this is not, I'm not sure why that's in there. The number 1 says the board authorizes advisory committees. This is not an advisory committee. So it's non-sunshine.
I asked why that was in there too, and unbelievably nobody knows. Except maybe Chrissy, and she's not here.
That's the only one.
Disregard that page.
Well, do we disregard all of B1004 or eliminate, modify the resolution to omit step 3?
Well, no. Because B1004 is not part of the actual resolution. It's Exhibit A is the next page, and it talks about there the purpose. It talks about it's for fact-finding only, so it's non-advisory. And I actually believe in the resolution I addressed that. Yeah, so I guess that's why she put it in there, is because under 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5th whereas clause, it says that the proposed Sun and Lake Golf Committee is for fact-finding and reporting purposes only. It is not an advisory committee as contemplated under District Policy B1004.
Any other discussion?
Supervisor Hotelling,
Yes.
Supervisor Brooks,
Yes.
President Gilpin.
Yes. Okay, now the discussion on the recreation summer camp.
So I've got some notes regarding the 2019 summer camp that I'd like to read for you guys. So the last summer camp that we hosted was hosted from June 3rd to August 2nd, 2019. This was a 9-week period, but an 8-week camp. The reason for the week's difference was that in previous years we canceled camp the week of our Independence Day celebration, so there was no camp from July 1st through the 5th. There were 74 students that were registered, which averaged to about 35 students per week. That's because we allowed a cafeteria-style sign-up, if you will, so parents could sign their students up for whichever weeks of camp that they needed. It didn't have to be for the 8 consecutive or 9 weeks. The rate for camp was $85 a week for residents, $95 a week for non-residents, with a $15 registration fee for each student. Camp was held from 7:30 to 5:30 with 1 director, 1 assistant director, and 4 counselors. Revenue generated from camp totaled at $25,200. Expenses totaled $27,750, resulting in a net loss of $2,550 for 2019. In the year 2020, we elected to forego summer camp in light of the pandemic, so there were no revenues and there were no expenses. That was a net zero. This year, when we began starting the planning for summer camp, one of the first things that we did is we reached out to the Highlands County Health Department for some guidance regarding COVID-19 as it obviously still looms, and some of the recommendations that they had for anyone who was going to be hosting a youth program. Their recommendation was basically just referred us to the CDC website. They had a specific page for summer camps and youth programs. Those are the guidelines that were emailed to you on March the 5th. One of the biggest impacts that we would have this year for summer camp, if elected to proceed with summer camp, is going to be the option to continue with the cafeteria-style registration. The issue with that is that you have more kids coming and going as opposed to one group of students who are together for the remainder of camp. So there's a lot more, risk of the pandemic kind of being brought in with different students, the more coming and going that you have. This year it would require us, based on the CDC guidelines, to do 1 continuous camp, so week 1 through 9, 1 through 8, whatever it is. That obviously makes quite a financial impact for parents as you're asking them to sign up their child for 8 to 9 weeks as opposed to however many weeks that they preferred. It was also recommended by the CDC to limit camp attendance to staff and campers who live in the same geographic region, which for us would eliminate the option for a non-resident student to attend. The recommendation would be that we opened it to residents only. In the email that was sent to you with the different scenarios, I outlined in there what our revenues and expenses, what the cost analysis would look like for 4 different scenarios. It changed out the number of students, the cost of attendance, and the number of weeks that we hosted the camp. I have all of that data if you'd like me to read it off, but I know that it was sent in an email, so unless you need me to read it off. Each scenario was compiled with some assumptions in mind, one of which being that if we were hosting summer camp, that attendance would be full, that the listed capacity that was on each scenario would be the true capacity. That's not something we know at this moment because it depends on who would sign their child up for summer camp, but obviously we needed a number to make the projection with. Also, the cost for the weekly supplies, the total amount in shirts, the bags, and the water bottles for camp, that is a number that's going to vary based based on the capacity. There are other numbers that are on there, such as bus transportation for field trips, the end of camp water day, and the activity supplies that remain constant regardless of how many students would actually be attending the camp. Obviously, then, again, the salaries for the camp counselors, that number varies based on the amount of camp attendance as well. That's some of the data that we've compiled. I know that you guys have met with Dan and know that in our opinion, we would recommend that we do not move forward with summer camp this year, based on, obviously, the cost projections. It's anywhere between $5,000 and $9,000 in loss for the district. So if you guys have any further questions, I'm happy to answer.
I was glad that you guys recommended something. That's important. Is there any other questions here for the board?
In the past, how many people have been from outside the district versus inside?
I don't have that exact number with me, but when we ran it last time, I want to say it was roughly 70% were residents and 30% were non.
And have we ever gotten any feedback? Have we ever gotten any feedback from these parents on what they thought of this summer camp?
Not to the best of my knowledge.
So we have no clue whether it's good or bad.
The numbers remain pretty constant. I would say that 70, well, at least for the years I've been here, so the years that we have hosted since I have been here and that I can tell, the numbers have kind of remained in that same around 75 total registered. So I would take that as a positive. That's pretty much our capacity normally. We do end up having a wait list on normal, quote-unquote, normal years. But like I said, the difficulty that we have is that you've got some that will come on week 1, 5, and 7, and that's it. So you kind of are able to place the folks on the wait list. Everybody gets in, is the moral of the story. We don't have anyone who is turned away in the past. I would take that as a good sign that the camp stayed relatively full. But we don't have any documentation or a survey or anything that says, yes, I gave summer camp a 5-star.
Without the ability to filter people in and out of the program, because we have to sign up for the whole thing to follow the CDC, we're really not going to be able to necessarily get everybody in that we want to. I don't know. I'm anxious to hear if there's any public here to speak to it, but I'm inclined to agree with you that given the nearness of the COVID situation and the potential liability if something were to happen, I think I agree that we should put it off for another year and look at it again. Well, it's not specifically in here, but I wouldn't want to have to deal with one of the students in the camp getting COVID and spreading it around, and then we have to hold everybody down and put them on quarantine.
That's our concern. That's our concern, that it's, schools are open, correct?
Schools are open, that's correct.
Any other comment?
The other thing is we don't know how many would actually sign up out of the 75, so you gotta send them, it's $900 now instead of $100 a week, so I don't know. $100 per week.
Previously, it was $85 to $95. If we were to move forward with camp, we would recommend that we up that rate to $100.
And if they sign up, then sign up with $100.
That is correct.
I'd kind of like to open this up to, even though discussions we normally don't, but I'd like to, is there any public comment about this? Okay, well, there's no vote, right? You just want a consensus?
That is correct. Basically, at this point, I need to know the work for summer camp has been done. So ultimately, it is there. Although it's not our recommendation, we wanted to be prepared in case it was the board's direction to go that route. At this point, we need some direction so that we know whether or not we need to move forward with staffing as well.
Okay, fellow supervisors.
One quick question. Scott, is the county planning on doing anything in the way of a summer camp for the kids?
I'm sorry, Scott, do you mind using the microphone? I'm sorry.
Thank you for being here also.
They are talking, I could verify, I could get with Ariel tomorrow, but I believe the 4-H camp, initial plan is, what I heard a few weeks back, was to continue with the 4-H camp at the Ag Center. But I can confirm that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, what would you like to do?
I would support the staff recommendation to not have the camp this year. If there was a strong desire for it, I think some of the parents would have been here tonight to talk about it.
Hey, Craig,
I'm obviously, I'm still doing it.
Craig?
I don't believe parents are going to accept the $900 summer camp. So therefore, I guess I would agree with the staff recommendation that they don't
I agree. I don't think we should have this. Okay?
Save all this stuff for next year.
Okay, before we get to the next resolution, I just want to make a comment that, I don't know if Dave's going to say something, but we, today, got concerned that maybe we should do this today, because, here he is, because one of the supervisors, elect, is not available.
Candidate.
Our candidate, I'm sorry. And I asked Dan to call Mr. Page, who is just right here, just walked in. And so I was going to recommend that maybe we didn't do it, but I think we should discuss it, whether we want to go ahead with this week or wait till next meeting. I don't know if anybody would change their vote either way, but I'm open to doing whatever the board would like to do. So I think, Dave, maybe you better, since Mr. Page is here.
Okay. So yeah, my understanding is that we have two potential candidates, one of which is not available tonight, I guess because of her mother's in the hospital. Anyway, the way that it would normally work is, someone would make a motion to fill in the blank of the supervisor or the candidate that they want to elect. That person got a second. There would then be a vote, but of course we have 4 supervisors, so if it was a 2-2 vote, it fails. That would then bring up the possibility of if the other candidate was going to be nominated and voted on, and if it failed at a 2-2 vote, now we've got 2 failures. if that were to occur, that could be what's done, it was known as a motion for reconsideration. If you're on the prevailing side, which means you're one of the people that voted no. On the no vote, you could bring it back up for reconsideration to vote, but the fact of the matter is that we need to fill the position. It doesn't have to be done tonight. It could be done at the next board meeting. We could table, someone could make a motion to table this until the next board meeting, and that's also an option. So it's kind of at the board's pleasure, but and like I say, once again, when we made the revisions to the ordinance, county ordinance, we changed it from shall to may, so it is not a requirement that we fill it tonight.
Thank you, Dave. So it's really up to you guys what you want to do. And I think whoever would like to delay it, just make a request and see what goes.
Yeah, someone just make a motion as to what whatever they want to occur. If you want to make a motion to accept candidate A, candidate B, or table it.
I make a motion to table, and I second that. She's got compelling personal reasons for not being here. That's part of the discussion. I second that.
All right, so we're going to motion and a second to table. So that can now be discussed.
Any discussions?
Yeah, I believe Mrs. Phillips has got personal compelling reasons for not being here. I believe it's something that all of us would do in the same respect. And therefore, I would like to go ahead and delay it and then let both of the candidates have an opportunity to talk to us at the same time and express their views on their interest in becoming a supervisor and being on equal ground at equal time. That's my...
Yeah, I guess my feeling would be that we've had opportunities to meet with them. I haven't been able to meet personally with Beverly, but I have some familiarity of her from other people. I'm anxious to get the fifth candidate on board so that we don't have two guys that can slow us down. I don't know, obviously, where the rest of the board is on which candidate they're favoring. I don't know that it's necessary that we have both candidates here to have the vote. Obviously, we would want the candidate to come on board as quickly as possible and understand that sometimes family situations keep you from being able to serve, but I'm not sure that their inability to be here to make a personal presentation is a reason to delay the vote.
Thank you. Well, I guess it would be up to me then. I agree with Neil, but I can see why it's just sad that Beverly hasn't been here. I mean, I've tried to talk to her for 2 weeks and asked her husband asked several times for her to call me even. But I kind of agree that I don't know what difference it would make, but maybe we ought to just, it's a difficult thing, but I think we ought to just wait. And sorry, Mr. Page, where you are. But I'd ask you to come back at the next meeting, and hopefully we'll have a little better stuff together. And Beverly's mom's okay.
Just to make sure that is, so the motion is to table this resolution until the next board meeting, which is April 9th.
Right.
Okay,
that does not count this special one that we've got.
Correct. Yeah, the special meeting on Friday is for a specific purpose.
Right.
So this would be tabled until the April 9th meeting. I'm going to need to take a vote.
Do we need public comment?
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment?
Camp resident. I just find it a little strange. This might be me, and I'm not sure if I heard it correctly, but I heard two board members said they didn't even have a conversation with some of these candidates. How can you even think about making a decision without at least having some level of conversation with this person or persons? Anyway, that's just my thought on it.
Well, we offered to talk to her, and I know she's made several phone calls to people, but not me. So,
No, and I'm not here to debate that. I mean, there's an illness. There is definitely, I know what's going on in the family, so I can understand what's happened, but I can't understand how you could even think about making a decision without at least warranting a discussion. That's all I'm saying.
I've called her, and I have not been able to talk to her, and that's one of the reasons I made the motion that I did.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good afternoon, Bill Norcross, resident. On this, filling the extra seat here, you know, I've been here a long time, and I tell you what, the people who are interested in this job show up. I know there's extenuating circumstances here, but she was invited the last time to show up, and she didn't show up. Now we have another candidate, I don't even know who that person is. So for me, if you're interested in this job, you would certainly get a hold of the president. You would certainly make sure that your feelings are, and then the condolences are given. But I tell you what, it's an important job, and I like to see people here. Thank you.
thank you. Any other discussion? Now, this is a motion to table, right? Okay. Go ahead, Aaron.
Supervisor Hoteling?
No.
Supervisor Brooks? Supervisor Herrick?
Yes.
President Gilpin?
Yes. Add-on items,
No.
petitions and communications. We're gonna save them for staff reports. Who's first?
Good evening, Supervisors. I got a few things here to note. Typically, I start off with the golf course. Both golf courses have been sprayed with the spring pre-emergent. I think I noted that in my Monday report that was coming up. Currently, staff is doing a follow-up with the broadleaf post-emergent products on both courses, and both courses are scheduled for their second granular fertilizer application of the spring. Now that'll help push new growth, and it'll kind of get the Bermuda to kind of pop out of dormancy coming out of the cold weather. As I noted in my Monday report, the work on the right side of number 9 Deer has started. I'm sure many of you have seen it. It's been quite extensive. Mr. Hurley's staff has done a good job over there. Following that up, the golf course staff will start to improve the drainage along that area. As you remember, early fall when we had all that rain, it was, you guys know more, it was really wet. So we'll put some drainage work in there to try to prevent that in the future. So that project will be ongoing here for a while. Obviously, we're going to want to try to do that before we get back to the rainy season. So we're trying to push that as soon as we can. We are doing our spring mole cricket control. That will be applied on both courses over the next 2 weeks. It's probably the biggest pest control application that we do of the year. I'm sure you guys have all seen what mole crickets can do to a golf course in a very quick time, so we are on top of that. On to the F&B. At the last meeting, it was requested that we add more tables and chairs to the back patio to accommodate more people, as more people have requested to sit out there. Those tables and chairs were ordered, delivered, and they are there. We've been there since midweek last week, I believe. So that has been completed. Also at the last meeting, it was requested that we extend the restaurant hours on Sundays. so far that we have implemented that, and so far that's been successful. At this current time, we'll continue to monitor it and make changes if we see fit, but right now it's been good. Our weekly programming has been very successful. It's been very busy most of the week. We're very busy tonight. We're scheduled to be very busy tomorrow night. It's St. Patty's Day. We're going to look at adding some more programming as we move into the summertime. That being, if we could do trivia nights or dinner and dancing, we'll see how that goes as COVID restrictions ease. We'll try to get some of that programming back in. We'll see how, that's just going to be kind of play it by ear there, but we're going to try to get some stuff going. The next couple of weeks, we're probably going to alter the menu slightly, and I mean very slightly. We have a couple items that aren't moving very fast. We're going to replace those. There's only one or two with some items that are more popular and they have been requested. We have several things that have been requested to be put back on the menu, so I think we're going to replace two items. Also had a lot of requests for pizza, and we kind of knew that was going to happen. Obviously, we've had several discussions on that. It's not something we can do all the time, every day. I've been working with Kevin and we're willing to try it maybe as a special for one night, just like we have burger night. We're going to try to say we're going to try. We're going to do a pizza. I want to say pizza night, but we'll probably extend it throughout the day, so we're ready to do it for lunch.
What makes the pizza so difficult?
Making the pizza is not the difficult part. We have our main line, and if you want to stop by, I can walk you through it. I've done it with Mr. Stiegel, explain it to him really well. It's easier when we're in there, but we have the main line where we make everything. So it's got a grill, a flat top, an oven, and you got the deep fryers. That's where we do all of our stuff. That does not include pizza on that line. The pizza needs, you only have so much storage area of where everything is in your prep area. The pizza is over on the other line. So when you're operating, you need to have an entire one person to operate that line over there. So out of efficiency, we have eliminated what we call the cold line. Even though it's pizza, we call that the cold line. We have eliminated that. So we have eliminated one person on staff at all times. So if you want to stop by, I'd be happy to show you that and explain a little bit more. But it's out of efficiency, and it's a labor thing. It's not a demand. It's basically just for labor.
So are you adding a staff person then on the day?
We will have to.
Pizza?
Yes, we will have to. Now we've played a few scenarios where right now it's been very busy, so we've had a little extra help in there. If the demand for pizzas is high, we might be able to shuffle people around a little bit. We'll see how it goes, but we're going to give it a run, just because there's been a lot of demand for it. So hopefully we can satisfy a few of our customers by at least offering it one night. And if the demand is, if we're condensing the demand for that into one night instead of over 6 days or 7 days, it may make sense. So if we're condensing that into one night, I think it may work. So we're going to give it a run.
You track entrees.
Yes.
Pizzas, how popular was it on a daily basis?
Certain days were more popular than others. Wednesday was very, very popular, and other days it's not. For whatever reason, that may or may not be, but we can calculate all those. And when I say we're going to do pizzas, we're going to do it slightly different. The pizzas we were doing before were a little bit larger, and they were more for. You could serve 2 to 3 people maybe with one of those. We're actually going to reduce the size. It's going to be a 7-inch kind of personal pizza. Obviously, the price is going to be less because we're going to try to run it as a special. We want it to sell. So instead of ordering a bigger pizza for 12, it'll be a little bit smaller, and it might be 8, depending on toppings and whatever that may be. But
how has the response time been with just one cook as far as the meal being ordered and getting out to the customer?
So the days we have one cook would be the Sunday late Sunday and Monday late, so dinner time. For for the most part, the demand hasn't been too crazy to run those ticket times too long. I don't have data on all those ticket times. There's no way to, unless you're sitting there pulling tickets and watching them go out the windows. What I do when I'm in there when it's really busy, I follow that a lot. I think there's been a couple times, I know of at least one day, and I think it was a discussion of the same reason why we stayed open longer, was, we had a lot of people come in all at once, and they're all ordering at one time. It could overwhelm that person, the ticket times could run long, but I don't think it's been an issue. The one day is the only day that I'm aware of, on the Sunday, Monday, that ticket times were wrong. So I don't think that's been an issue as far as that goes. Moving on to golf, as you guys know, we have the Chen Dell tournament a couple Fridays ago. You guys asked for some revenue numbers on that. It was right around, the gross revenue on that was about $23,000. Super good. Just to update you, the AJGA tournament's coming up April 9 through 11. It's a lot smaller than a Chen Dell tournament. It's probably 70 players maybe in split tee times. Over that course of that time, it'll probably be around $11,000 gross revenue. And then we got I said major league in my report one time, but it's the minor league golf tour. It was coming up on April 13, 14. That's about 40 to 50 players. They'll be teeing off in the morning over 2 days, and that's going to be right around $4,000 in gross revenue. I know those are much smaller, but they're much smaller events. They don't displace much. So the revenues aren't as much, but they're just much smaller.
On the Chen Dental, you gave us the gross revenue. What did we net?
It's hard to really throw a net on that. I mean, it's the same as... The only thing that we're really looking at expense-wise on that is labor. And we have the cost of food in there. I could break down the cost of food on those a little bit more. I didn't do it for this. But if you notice on my weekly report with our golf labor, it didn't fluctuate much week over week. It was $200 more that week than the previous week, and I think the week after. So the labor didn't necessarily go up.
Just figure out what it is. Let me know.
I'm more than happy to. The reason why I'm a little shaky on this is because it's hard to designate. When we have the labor for a day that's there for the whole day, so to designate it just for that tournament to throw it in a net might be a little wishy-washy, but I'll give you the best number I can.
And Mike, with the gross cost only of $4,000, I'm sure you're going to pay attention to the labor that.
Sure, in that scenario, and
that's very key,
right? And that will demand zero more labor than any other day. It'll be the same amount of labor that it takes. That's 50 players at $40 a round.
I was assuming that, but I was just wanted to say it. Because that was the problem with the other tours that we had.
Right. The labor will be on their end. They'll bring their own folks to do all their scoring and all that stuff, so it won't require any extra labor.
Very good.
Memberships, not much change from last time. I think we added a little bit, so we're right around 94%, give or take, of plan, which is $980,000 compared to a budget of $1,040,000. A couple other things to note. Myself, Mr. Shoemaker, and Mr. Spiegel got together to discuss the driving range. We have a little bit of an issue. Probably 5% of the people that hit balls in our driving range can hit it through the driving range, which over time adds up to a little bit. We've had a couple cars get hit. We've had people get hit. Mr. Shoemaker drafted us up some language to post at the driving range to inform people on the range that the range is only a certain length, and that if you can hit a ball farther than that, maybe you should not hit a club that you can now drive the range, or it says you may, if I'm correct, you may be liable for any damages that you cause for hitting a ball off the driving range property. So we're trying to see if that discourages a little bit of the problem. If it doesn't, we may have to, depending on how bad it is, we may have to look at other things. Maybe nets are an option. Limited flight golf balls are an option. But as we see if this helps control any of it, we will, we're monitoring it, and we will come more thing. I just wanted to update the board, just so there's no confusion. Obviously, we had a resolution that we tabled till April 9th. And Omar can correct me on any of the information. When the RFP came in for that, there may have been some confusion with the company as to whether or not they were bidding for 18 Ts or 36 Ts. So we have gone back to ask them to clarify their bid, and then when we get that clarification of 18 Ts or 36 Ts, we wanted 18 Ts on Turtle, but I guess with the square footage of their Ts, they may have had the assumption that it was all 36. So we're going to get good numbers, so that way we can bring you good information with a good recommendation as to how to proceed on that.
Like I would check with them a little too, because I looked at the RFP when we put it out. It was clearly 18 holes. I don't know how.
It's a big number.
I do not know how a serious bidder would bid for 36 holes.
I agree, and I think Omar actually spoke to him. You want to speak to Omar? Spoke to him.
I just questioned the company we got. I mean, don't they read what we put out?
Yeah, so the specifications were clear. It was only Turtle Run, the detailed locations where we were going. The majority of the RFP documents were drafted by Alderman Associates that worked with Earl, going through key locations and where those placements were going to be. He also did the plan for Deal Run at the same time. So what happened was when we issued just the Turtle Run Aqua Tees, we used the bid sheet that Alton provided, but that bid sheet had a square footage amount predetermined for all 36. It didn't break it down. We didn't alter that number to adjust it to half for just Turtle Run. So they bid according to the square footage that we specified in that bid sheet. So we have gone back to them. We're going to try and revise it. I believe it is for 36 holes. We did only have one bidder. That bid came in at roughly $170,000, so that number cannot change. What we can do is modify it to say half of that or alter the square footage calculation to make it accurate. And there was also some concerns with some of the soil designation that they were provided. They toured the property with Earl. Earl allowed them to use soil from on-premise to build the construction. I guess there was some confusion as to using that entirely for the construction and not putting any topsoil. So there's some confusion there, but we're going to try and alter it and have that back for April 9th. What are you going to give us on April 9th? A good number for just Turtle Run, 18 Ts, and then also give you the proposal, if that is all 36. Before you consider that. But
If they're the only bidder, do we have to accept it, or do we just say we don't want it? We can reject the bid.
I just would really question. I mean, this is crazy. I mean,
It sounds like we screwed up. We sent them confusing information.
I think that's accurate.
well, either way, something's pretty bad.
it is promising that they did. They are, with everything going on, we were kind of concerned that we weren't going to be able to do it in this fiscal year. They are willing to start this summer. And if we're willing to do all 36, if the board is willing to do that. So I think we'll work with them to see if we can get to a good number within budget. It shouldn't be a problem.
Is Earl familiar with the company?
He is. He mentioned he was. And he's done some work with them.
Well, I think Earl should be here at the next meeting, no offense. Let him make his case.
He was going to be here, but since it was scheduled to be tabled, he did not stay for that. So he will be here for that, for questions that you guys may have when that resolution comes back up. And that's all I have, Supervisor.
Just a quick couple updates from me. We just wrapped up the audit. So McDermott and Davis will be having a presentation at the April 19th as well to go over our findings and performance from last year. RFPs, we do have the drainage RFP out. That will come due on March 30th, which is a Tuesday. And we'll have that as well on the April 9th meeting to approve the drainage program. From a banking standpoint, Dan and I have been working with on some local banks in conjunction with we currently use TD Bank. Part of that structure, when they closed down the CB average costs us about $1,000 a month, so it's $12,000 a year. We've kind of tossed that idea back and forth to do some strategic cash allocations to take the cash to a local bank and then ACH transfer it to TD Bank to save that $12,000. So we're in the works of doing that. South Florida College just put out a bid for banking services that we could piggyback off of, depending on the rates and who wins that bid. So we'll keep you posted as we go through that projection, but I think it's a no-brainer for us to save the $12,000 a year, deposit our cash in the local branch, and then just ACH transfer to TD to get checks stuff in there. So that'll be a big help going forward. And then the last thing I have is we're going to be starting capital discussions. We've already started internal conversations for budget. We obviously have some major projects in the pipeline that we've discussed in the past. So we are working on that, and we'll be ready to start that conversation on it.
How many permits have we issued this year?
So I believe we're at right around 30. I think I issued number 28 or 9 earlier this week, and I have a couple pending on that too.
And we ended last year at 92?
Correct. So we've gotten 30 in 3 months, and we're still not done in March, so it hasn't slowed down a bit. We are tackling that with no additional staff. It's getting to the point where we may need to pick up some part-time help just to help process, deal with construction, inspections, and everything else that was going on. So the workload has tripled, if not quadrupled. So our staff is doing a good job clearing up. I don't know how long we can sustain that and still give quality work that we need to contract.
When we get into the capital, when you guys are going to come, I want you guys to come to us and say, I'm estimating at the end of this year, we're going to have this amount of cash available. And we need to keep this amount of cash as a requirement by law. And we need to keep this amount of cash for a rainy day. So therefore, board of directors or whatever you are, you have this amount that you can spend towards capital as you see fit. You do that. You always do. No, you don't. No, we do.
So every year
I threw an extra thing in there. I want you to put something for a rainy day for emergency
that's fine.
purposes.
And we can determine that. In the 5-year capital discussion, every year we give you what our reserve balances are, which is right around $9 million. The GFOA recommended balance for that is 6 months of operating reserves in case, heaven forbid, a catastrophic event, every single revenue stops flat on its face. You can still operate for 6 months. So that puts us around $3.5–4 million. That is the GFOA recommendation across the board. Now, when I ask every municipality, so 6 months. Right. I don't think 6 months. Once again, we can, at the board discretion, we can make that a little bit more conservative and do $5 million.
That's Omar, just like in the past 6 years that I've been here, you ask for whatever you want. And we'll see how it goes. So take it from all 4 of us. You know.
It all depends on how big a rainy day you expect.
That's right.
And that's always a moving
That's up
target.
to us. Mike, I want you to make sure that when the referrals here next meeting to
This could be the year that the board makes a decision. Very excited.
get the schedule of those trees that he wants. Because I think we should know that and get that in the supervisor should see that list and make a
I
decision.
spent a couple hours with Earl. My days are running together. This last week, and we identified, Earl pretty much identified every tree that is a problem, an immediate problem, a short-term problem, a long-term problem, and we need to come up with a plan to deal with all three and to deal with replanting.
Right.
The issue is we have a lot of water oak trees who have a useful life and it becomes very dangerous, somewhere between 40 and 58 years of age. I became less dangerous, they become more dangerous. But we need to replant live oaks as opposed to water oaks, and that's what our plan is.
Yeah, I'd just like to see that, Dan. That
We should have it for you for next
get it to us as soon as possible.
We should have it.
Omar, what did you say our reserve is?
$9 million.
I thought we had, that's great, thank you.
I thought you said. He's a good investor.
Yeah, we do.
kind of a moving target, depends on when, you know, it depends on what day you're asking, but
General counsel report.
Okay, going back to the... Or do you want?
Oh,
You got mine?
Yeah, I got the water shortage, we're still at 290, which is a lot for this time of year. One notice is we're at 274, probably average. Things have been kind of quiet. I'm back on the Kansas, I'm getting more, I've got some complaints from the Kansas lift station again. So I've been working on that. Again, so, and I can't really report anything here. I just hope I talk with two judges, to spell it. I want to wait for a couple of weeks. So we did lift it, but further down. So, what do you want me to do? Listen. I've contacted a couple other places, and I asked them what they do. And people probably don't want to hear what they tell me, so I you know, but if you live there, you know, there is going to be an open. But living
There was a problem before we spent $300,000.
we had an engineer come in.
There wasn't a snowing problem.
There was always a smelling problem. There was always a smelling problem, but no matter where you go in this whole country, if you're going to live by there, you're going to get it, okay? And if you don't, it's like living next to Kentucky Fried Chicken. You're going to smell Kentucky Fried Chicken, okay? So what do you want me
Boy,
to
that's
tell
a
you?
hell of a way to judge it.
So,
You could have put it right in your back
that's all
door.
I can answer. But we are working on it, because I do feel bad for the people there. I've been over there every day this week, Dan and I went there. I think Mike and I went there one day too. So we have been working on that.
okay. That it, Michael?
Yes, Mike.
Just for the audience, the Dawsons are here to speak on that, and the public comment, they're going to come up, not yet, but during public comment, they want to say something.
You done? I have a question. According to your monthly report, Villabella had problems with speeding.
Yes, yeah, we have the speed sign out there. We've had it there for a week. I've had, complaints about people speeding. It shows they are speeding.
Right, so,
But I'd like to do it another week. Give us a chance, because I know they're going to ask for speed bumps. And you know they're going to ask for speed bumps, and they have to put them in.
so has Villabella officially asked for people?
Oh, they're going to.
Oh, they're going to?
Well, I mean, when they meet, yes, they have. The people that are asking to put it out,
All right, so you're gonna put the machine back out there?
Yeah.
And we'll look at it,
next meeting on April 4th. So,
it'd be nice to get ahead of one. I mean, the other ones that you put, the other speeds that you recorded seem to be okay.
Villabella's hot. You're right. Well, thanks for reading my report.
Thank you. Now, David, sorry.
No problem.
Not yet.
Nope.
Ariel.
Sorry. One more.
I thought you already did.
Nope, almost.
Okay.
Only a couple things, I promise.
Okay.
So a couple of recreation updates. Yesterday, I sent out an email to the board that had an update from SNME regarding the promenade rerouting, if you will. So in the next week, if possible, I'd love to get some of your feedback on that so that I can advise SNME regarding the master plan draft, and they can give us some cost renderings. If you participate in both. At least we're not asking them to do the work for that. If there's one that kind of sticks out to you, just at first glance, when we were able to sit down and take a look at it, I would say of the two, the South Shore option would be what would make the most sense in our opinion, or would be the preferred route, keeping traffic away from the Island View area where they host their wedding out at the back. So basically it would be kind of a modified version that wraps it around the event lawn area, keeping the promenade itself in the recreational complex facility. Obviously, I know that's not what we were looking for. We were hoping to go around the lake, but right now that doesn't seem like it's going to be a possibility for us. With regards to the promenade as well, obviously, as we are continuing to make some adjustments to the promenade, I would ask or present the option to the board to look at moving the playground project up in priority for fiscal year 2021, 2022. I'd really like to start compiling some information for cost for that. I know that initially it was second on our priority list, but understanding that the promenade isn't something that's going to be taking place, doesn't look like necessarily right away. Our playground is in desperate need of update. The equipment is brittle from being beat down by the sun, and the equipment itself is just really aged. I would encourage any of you that haven't seen it to go and take a look at it. I'm happy to go out there. I know Kelly would as well, to just let you lay eyes on it. We've had problems with that for years that Mike's guys are kind enough to help us fix to make it usable, but it is certainly not in the best condition. So with the board's approval on that, I would ask that I can go ahead and start compiling some information on the playgrounds, obviously to be presented as a capital project at the next meeting. And then the last update is with regards to 90 sports construction that we talked about for the resurfacing of the 4 tennis courts and the 8 pickleball courts. We did receive an estimate back from that, and it was for $35,000 to $37,000. So that will obviously be presented as a capital project at the next meeting as well, but just wanted to update you that we have received that, and that's the ballpark number that we could kind of expect.
I just want to challenge you that with this promenade, had we done minimal groundwork in the beginning, we would have realized that we were not going to have a promenade. And we would have saved time with talking about it and saving time and expenses on having somebody put costs together on something that was never going to happen.
Understood. Yes, that's the loop around.
Who says it has to be circular?
Well,
Who says it has to be a complete circle?
it's actually not. So the renderings that I sent yesterday, they're not a complete circle. There were
The drawings that you sent out yesterday, I have to tell you, I didn't get it. But anyway, you can explain those.
Yeah, happy to.
I don't understand if we can't do the whole circle because we don't have rights to certain property. That's fine. So just go to the extremes. Just go as far as you can go and turn around and come back.
Understood. And we
Instead
did.
of going over to the clubhouse,
Yep.
going here and going there. I mean, what's going
We presented that option to SM&E as well, and that is an option. We're just trying to show you all the possible scenarios here in the instance that we don't want a path that leads to nowhere.
I still haven't seen what I asked for in January or December, whatever the hell. I haven't gotten that yet. This guy came here, he stood up, he said, he made a mistake, you didn't read your email. I'll get you the information. At the last meeting, what have we gotten since then? Nothing.
I got an update yesterday that we sent to you. Maybe didn't.
He's sitting here. And then you want to move up the playground. I don't even know. Come on, guys. That's all I got to say. Get it together. This is not the way to do it. Not the way.
Is that all, Ariel?
That's all.
Thank you. Sorry to forget you.
That's okay.
general manager's report.
No, my turn.
You already talked.
Okay, so the Avanti Mueller issue, I talked to Mr. Laconi yesterday. Omar put together a proposal for what we want. That's been communicated to their attorney, as well as the demand that that we're moving forward. So we should, at the next board meeting, we should have a response. Their response should be due within 20 days. So we'll have their response to our lawsuit. And what I also requested is that we know that if the lawsuit continues, that the court's going to direct us to go to mediation. So I told Mr. Laconi to start looking into some potential mediation dates, and we'll have to talk about how mediation will occur. What I would recommend for, once we get a mediation date set, we'll pick one of the supervisors to go with us to mediation, and then after that mediation occurs, we'll have to come back and have a shade meeting to discuss and vote on, whether or not to accept the settlement proposal of mediation.
How long does that process take?
Well, my guess is that we'll try to get mediation set within 90 days of the April 9th meeting, and then once we have that mediation, we have to go through the process of setting the shade meeting. I think we only have to do one public notice, because that's one of the ones where it's not a public meeting. We have to have a court reporter come in and take exact minutes and everything, and then those get released after the mediation or after settlement occurs, if settlement occurs.
It's safe to assume that you get anything, it's going to be next day.
I would say that, even if mediation is successful, it'll probably be 120 to 150 days.
So I would say for budget purposes, we're going to have to put the whole amount in. We're not going to get reimbursed.
Most likely, not anytime soon. Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct. I would be surprised. Unless we have a really very successful mediation, I don't think it'll be before budget's done.
There's a whole nother discussion around that, and that you're taking very old technology and meters and plugging new technology on top of it. The issue is the connection. We're talking about plugging electronics on top of something that's sitting in a hole in the wall. It doesn't seem to look particularly well, at least this iteration of it.
No, I understand. I'm just saying that we have to put another thing into the capital plan. That's what's going to happen.
Exactly.
Because we don't want to wait until the fall.
Exactly, and then we have to establish our damages, basically, in order to do the litigation. But the question is, how much do we want to spend? Do we want to keep the meters in the ground, or do we want to buy new technology, or do we want to do the alternatives? That's the $1.2 million.
$1.2 million is doing everything.
That's an estimate. That's getting the full AMI system with new meters
From a different company, actually.
Yes. We did a little bit of research on the golf cart registration issue, had a conversation with Supervisor Herrick, and it doesn't look like there's anything feasible on that end, so we kind of put an end to that. I got a call from Tanya today, and I'm going to try and snag Supervisor Kerouac after the meeting about setting up a meeting between her, Mr. Kerouac, and the county attorney regarding the gas tax issue, so we can finally put that to bed. The gas tax issue. Sit down with them and kind of say, here's what my research has revealed, and have that discussion with them, and then see if it goes anywhere, or we can come back to the board and say, here's the situation, what way do you want to proceed?
Shouldn't we have someone representing Sun Lake other than you, along with you? Not you.
Oh yeah, we can, and one of the supervisors wants to come along. That'd be a good idea as well. So, me, Tanya, one of the supervisors, Mr. Kerouac, and the county attorney. So, once I get that meeting set up, I'll come up with some potential dates and then see if you'd like to.
Is Tanya's input because of passed, or?
Yeah, because of her knowledge on it and her new position at the county.
Okay. And there was a meeting, right? Before?
Oh, yeah, we've had some previous discussions, but not an official meeting with the county attorney.
Okay. I just, strange, okay.
And then the last thing is my wife's turning 40 on Thursday. This is spring break, and so I'm going to be absent at the board meeting on the 19th, and I apologize, I have to be absent.
I have a question for you.
I just had one comment. I did one on the gas tax deal. I don't know if this is working or not, but I'd reached out to staff because Mr. Norcross had contacted me and inquired about the gas tax, okay? So I believe there was some confusion with staff and with Tanya on who reached out, okay? I can tell you, I told Mr. Norcross that I will research this issue and find out why things are the way that they are, because they go back many, many years. But that was not, Tanya was confused that this was a directive from the board. Okay, this was a directive from Mr. Norcross, I assume he's a resident here of your community. So, if the board chooses to take up this action or this subject with the county, then certainly we can arrange meetings and I will get educated on this matter and we can sit down and discuss it. But that would, Tanya, after I spoke with her, because I'd been in meetings all day, she was a little bit confused on where this direction came from when she spoke with your legal counsel, so...
Yeah, that was my question. I didn't know.
I've seen the confusion after this, and this was because I'd been marred in meetings all day today, and I'd reached out to her because Mr. Norcross had reached out to me, because I knew she had some history on this matter, and when one of my constituents, I represent this district, reaches out to me, I told him that I would research the matter and get back with him. I informed him before he left this evening that I was working on that, and I will continue to, and I will respond to him with the findings of my research. But I was also told that if the county is to take up this discussion, it would have to be on the directive of your Board of Supervisors to pursue that, okay? And also, just real quick, on the 4-H camp, the county is planning on doing the 4-H camp. Attendance will be limited because of COVID-19 restrictions. They won't be sharing supplies like they have in the past. But as it is now, the county is moving forward with their 4-H camp.
Thank you very much for clarifying.
Thank you.
Now I've got some confusion, because I thought we had given a board directive to Tanya to work with the county on the gas. Had we not?
I thought we tabled it because of other issues.
I'd have to go back and check the minutes, but like I say, if the board gave Tanya a directive, she's not that directive is moot at this point because she's no longer an employee. So, I think what I'd like to do is, what I think the best thing is to do is to get the memorandum that I've already prepared to Mr. Kerouac and the county attorney, so that way they can review what our position has been, and then see if we would set up a meeting, unless the board wants us to stop moving forward with that.
I was under the impression that more
See, I thought we had taken care of it, that there was not going to be a possibility to do it.
My understanding was Tanya was meeting with the county and was waiting for Mr. Kerouac to come on board so she could have those meetings. So obviously there is some confusion.
Well, anyway, Tanya's not here, so she...
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we shouldn't continue the conversation. It's a resolution.
last week's conversation meeting was kind of going to be tabled. That was the last thing she said when she was president of the meeting. Because there were other issues.
I thought she was just going to have a one-on-one with Scott, and after that, it just kind of went the way it went. That's how I remember.
I wasn't here, but I can tell you that Tanya said to me that then goes the gas tax board, and what they do would be included in the SRF funding for infrastructure. They would include our request in theirs, and
do have, I don't know if this question goes to both of you guys or one of you guys, on this Tarega, what, you saying that right? Tarega? On this deal that we're trying to do there as far as the water problems, I know that it's in the bid that's coming up on March the 30th, but I do have to get back to certain people there, and I want to make sure I give the best information. You sent out an email saying, these are the steps we're going to have to follow. Correct. So, I need to give them, or I would like to give them, an approximate date, month, that we think we might be able to do this in. Somebody get back to me and give me an estimate. I mean, and I'll tell them it's an estimate. Mm-hmm. That if everything goes well, we're going to have to go through one more rainy season. We're not going to have to. We can fix it before then. I mean, I need to give them some sort of an indication of it.
Well, when is the bid coming in?
March 30th, and it should be on the agenda for April 9th.
Okay, so if it's on the April 9th agenda, because once we have to have numbers. We have to have numbers and a plan, and once we have numbers and a plan, that has to be put in public record, and then we have to start sending out notices. So realistically, if we're on the April 9th, I would figure, we should be able to, I don't know why it would take any longer than June. I mean, we could probably, I would say that it'll be part of our budgeting discussion, like because that special assessment will need to be incorporated into next year's budget.
So, give me does that include doing the work part?
Well, I mean, otherwise it would have to be a change order for this year's budget. If we wanted to do it before the end of this fiscal year, we'd have to have some sort of budget amendment, because I'm assuming that's not part of the budget.
It is not budgeted, however, I don't know of any reason we couldn't do a change order. And it seems to me that is a sufficient magnitude and sufficient interest that we should do so. So I think,
assuming that we do a budget amendment and everything goes smoothly, can we do it during the rainy season, or is that stupid to do?
Do it. We want to do it by the end of this year. That's what we're looking for. Okay? So, yes.
So do I tell them November,
I mean, it's going to be a
December?
little harder to do in the rainy season, yes. It would have been great to do it right now. But we're not. Yeah.
I just want to give them an idea so they know what's going to happen.
Well, I've had a couple of them call me, and I just told them that, they would
June by date, August, July, August.
Oh, no, I don't think anything. If we award, if the bids come in, so we're talking about putting the bid award on the April 9th board meeting?
Correct.
Okay, well then once that bid is awarded, we should be able to move relatively quickly after that. So I figure, a month or two.
What about all this other stuff?
Oh, well, that doesn't stop the project.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't stop the project. We would just have to schedule it out so that we know, because we have to start sending out notices, letting people know this is what's going to happen, so that if anybody wants to come in, they can come in and they can see the plans, they can see and we have to come up with the proposed roles on which properties are going to be affected by the special assessment.
Okay, so April 9th, if we do the budget amendment, we can go right ahead and do this?
Correct.
And how long would it take? I mean, so we're talking June to do it?
I would say more July.
Or do we have to put out a bid? Oh, no, we don't have to.
No, you
We don't have to put out a bid.
we got to get through the thing, and then we got to get the contractor mobilized, and my understanding is this will be number one priority for you guys, and that's up to you. But assuming it is, and you put that on the contractor.
So I can tell them July,
Get it done.
would be safe?
I would say July.
July. Okay, thank you.
That's all I have.
Do you live on that street? No.
Roger layers and residents. Thanks for
Public comment?
when I was in civilian. If you're going to give them a date, I would give them one a little bit farther out. They'll be happy if you finish it quicker than that, but they'll be pissed off if you go past it.
That's developed.
So I would go a little farther than.
Well, that's why we went to July. That's why we went to July.
And I'm sorry, sir, can
That little lead time.
you state your name for the record, please?
Okay, unfinished business?
General manager's report.
I think I ought to go home and start again.
That's what's called under-promise and over-deliver.
Yeah, everything's,
I just have several things that will go quickly. I had a call from Tico today. They apparently are getting around to changing the gas line from into the Island View restaurant, which was necessitated by the remodel that we did, although I don't think any of us knew that. So they're getting around to doing it, and they will be coming in and working on that. Don't know when, but they're working on the engineering. I talked to Drew today, and he's sending me stuff. Update on Unit 12. I got a tortoise report on 48 acres that Mr. Hornick would like to take down first. There were 10 tortoises, and it'll take about 5 acres in a conservation easement to take care of those. He's working on the 31-acre tract now. In about 2 more weeks, hopefully we'll have it by April 9th, but he made no promise because he says that area is pretty thickly overgrown. At some point in time, we're going to have to sit down with Mr. Hornick and come up with a honest forgiveness developer's agreement of what are you going to take down, how much you're going to pay for it. And all we have is basically his wish list at this point in time. His wish list is pay us the same dollar per square foot that he offered for the whole thing, and take down pieces, and have us do the mitigation. Don't hurt to ask, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it.
you're keeping track, aren't you, Dan, of everything we're doing?
I am.
Okay.
I have a big, thick file.
Okay.
It's getting bigger every day. We had a deep environmental protection audit of our Unit 23 sewer plant. I think it went reasonably well, Mike. There were some issues that we have to do, 2 wells that we have to redo, and we have to lower the grade in one of the retention ponds, and there were some leak issues we have to deal with, but no big red flags that I heard about it. Was that a fair assessment? We already talked about the aqua teas. What I would hope to have from you guys at the next meeting is, this is what it'll cost if you want to do 18 teas, this is what it'll cost if you want to do 36 teas, and we're going to do it the right way, and you guys can either decide 18, 36, or 0. And we have $120,000 in the budget. The initial bid was almost $171,000, and there's some questioning about the top dressing on top of the teas, how much that would cost. So should be something less than 200, but I don't know at this point in time. Earl's dealing with that. We should have it for next meeting. One of the things that Earl also is working on is looking at moving the short game area from where it is, which is the sand trap and that shipping area, because it's dangerous, because of people hitting off. It's even more dangerous than, well, maybe not more dangerous. Mr. Hurley got hit today over in the parking lot on the, he wasn't fast enough. Somebody was hitting at him and he got him. That's what you call a shot at and hit. But we're looking at moving the short game area. There's $35,000 in the budget for this year to have done that, to do that this summer. Earl thinks that's adequate, not only to do that, but also to extend the irrigation all the way around the pond on 18, which has been stopped or burnout that we have because there's not water over there during the summer.
I'm sorry, you're talking about the practice chipping area?
Correct.
You're going to move it where?
Move it to between the 18th green on here and the ugly old truck homes, and extend irrigation.
How much is that going to
There's $35,000 in the budget. He thinks that's adequate to do it.
You're going to go to green and chipping area for $35,000?
Yeah, not an official USGA green, just a chip tree. Not you won't be out there putting just a, I don't know, that That's what he said.
He'll come with his proposal.
Yeah.
And
Are you putting the same traffic into?
you can ask that later. I mean,
Right.
this is all a
It's coming.
wish list.
We hope we'll have it for you.
We don't know what he's gonna do yet.
We hope to have you a plan and a cost, but our people would do it ourselves, and it would be in probably the April 9 meeting, I'm thinking. And that's all I have.
I'm afraid to say it. Because, are we ready for new business?
Unfinished business. And there's none that I know of.
Okay. Committee reports.
New business, none.
Okay, public comment.
Bob Butts, resident. With the all the homes being built in the community, that's a good thing and a bad thing, I guess. But on my Sunday afternoon building inspection drive, I noticed some things starting to happen already with new homes that, and they were predominantly within the Myrtle Beach, inside that loop. People have purchased the houses and they're already using part of their lawns as parking for their vehicles. I think our ordinance would say that you're not supposed to do that. So what I would just like to make sure that we nip all these things that are within the Sun and Lake ordinances in the bud right away before, while we can. I don't know who's in charge of that, or how that's watched over, but I think we've got to do that and start immediately before, because there's going to be more and more people move in. The other thing, and I don't know what we do about this, but our construction sites are a mess. The people that work on them, when they're done, all day, all the time, really, not when they're, but there are beer bottles and beer cans and pop bottles and Burger King bags thrown all over, not just on the lot they're working on, but in that whole vicinity. While a big dumpster sits right there on almost all occasions. Is there some way we can meet or talk to the builders to say, hey, have your guys pick it up? It looks terrible. Got new homes going in, and you'd have to drive by all this junk to take a look at them. Just some things I'd like to make sure that, that we take care of. That's all. Mike?
Yeah, we have talked to the builders about the dumpster because, we've also cited 20 houses already over there, approximately that. We've also cited someone with a tractor trailer in there that they can. But the problem is once we go in the site, they move it the next day, okay? Then they leave it out for a few days, they bring it back, then we have to start the process all over. And that's our problem. That's some big problem. That's always the problem here is once they take the vehicle off or do whatever, pick up their trash, right? Then on down the road, it's usually a lot of repeats. So, that's what we're running into. And maybe I should Bob Rumfield and probably David and Dan and see if we can change that rule. Once they get a letter and it continues, we should be able to start flagging them right away if they do it again. We were tractor trailer on Columbus. Four times in this time. But he moves it, and he gets to the time where he can put it back. Like this weekend, he had it there again. And that's our problem. And I think we have to change here.
Well, that's something, our system that we could change internally to make,
Exactly. We have
so it
to change our
doesn't,
system.
it doesn't go away and then restart.
Right.
It's,
You're right.
But
But I agree with you. I've gone over to turn the music down. At 10 o'clock at night, I was over there, right? They had music blasting. So, I mean, they turn it down, and then, a different contractor comes in, and, so, I mean, we are working on a problem.
yeah,
It's now on my list, Bob. We'll go.
Right, it's on the list.
I mean, now's the time, right now.
Look, I am 100% with you on that. Let's start from now before down the road they don't understand.
Right.
And the other problem is
Because down the road it's going to be
worse.
Well, they've been doing it down there for a year.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I promise you that we will keep our eye on that. Security watches it. Code enforcement did 274 warnings last month. That's 1 month. That's a lot of, so, I mean, they're trying to get the job done. But I think I got to sit down with Dan and I got to sit down with David and see if we can change. Once we give it to them, then 2 days later, if we do it again, we got to start finding.
So David, do you feel there is a way to?
Absolutely. There's a way we can do it.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Thanks.
Tony?
Tony's not here, but he's reading.
Okay.
Mike,
When security is making their rounds and they see something like that, do they call it into Bob or make note of it so that Bob?
It goes in the report, and Bob meets with them in the morning. When Bob meets with them, then he goes right out there, usually by 6 o'clock to 6:30 to check. So, yeah, but it's tough because, people get tired and all that.
Well, we just need to deal with it and we will do something.
And now they
Go ahead.
Richard Carter, I live at 6102 Matanza, right behind the lift station Mike talked about earlier. I have a letter here. All right, I'm close. I have a letter here from Tony Dawson. He lives in the triplex right down from me. Unfortunately, he's from Peter. He helps me to read this letter from him. The address is full. So without further ado, I'm going to read the letter. First of all, I'm going to get my glasses on. Says to the supervisor of Sun and Lake, the Sebring Improvement District. Subject, odor from lift station number 5 off of Matanza Drive. The Sun and Lake neighbors who live in the proximity of the new lift station endured the entire 2020 winter season with the drawn-out construction of the new lift station and the offensive odor that accompanies it. We had numerous conversations with the contractors, subcontractors, and Sun and Lake personnel, who all assured us that when the new station was complete, the stench we were dealing with would be gone. It was explained to us that while the station was under construction, the vent was wide open, and they had a plan to eliminate the odor. We waited patiently. When we all returned this year, we found the dirt piles gone, the grounds reclaimed beautifully, the new system up and running, and the same odor. Immediately we started conversation again with Mike Hurley and Joe Seva at Envirotech, who all assured us that they were working on multiple solutions. They asked that we give them a week or so for each method to see if it worked. Nothing has worked. If any of us happen to be unlucky enough to have the breeze moving in our direction while we were trying to enjoy the beautiful morning, afternoon, or evenings on our patios that we come to Sun and Lake for, we are forced back indoors with windows closed tight to escape the pungent odor. Our patience has run out. We cannot keep waiting for Band-Aid solutions after Band-Aid solutions. We know there are ways to solve this problem. Mike and Joe have been trying hard to come up with solutions, starting with the cheapest first. We supported their efforts and appreciate their candor about the problem and their desire to solve it, but it is simply taking too long. A final and lasting solution needs to be identified and completed now. We request that as our representative, you take this problem seriously and support Mike in whatever the engineers say will solve the problem. Time is of the essence. A petition has been circulating through the neighborhood and can be presented at the next board meeting with neighbors present if need be. We ask for your attention and support to this serious matter so that we can all get back to enjoying our wonderful Sun and Lake property. As says sincerely, Tony Dawson. I want to say this. Mike says there's some odor out of a lift station, and there is a little bit, but it doesn't have to be. There are masking agents that you can pour in that lift station that'll neutralize them odor. The reason I know that, I was a public works director for 16 years, had 3 waste treatment plants and lift stations. And I know something can be done. And Mike's trying hard. I'm not running him down. But you have to get some solutions here. You've got a charcoal filter up there, and it's not working.
I can't argue.
I know you're trying.
I agree. No. But anyways, we are trying. That's the last thing I do before I leave. That will be it. That's all I can tell you. We are really trying. I contacted 3 different chemical places today, okay? And I don't know which one we're coming up with, right? The masking agent, they said, yes, it's good as long as it's running, right? The fan turns off. Now, I did talk to a company today, and they said if we put a fan in there and run it 24 hours a day, that's going to work. But these are all salesmen, too. And see, the problem is we've gone through two other ways to do it, and it's true, it's not working. I mean, it's working sometimes, it's not working at all. So,
mostly you have the smell at night when the air heavy and drops
see, I
down.
know somebody today that told me it was morning.
Can't go out there.
Yeah. So, but anyway, I promise you I'm working on it.
If you can get it to smell like Kentucky Fried Chicken, we'll be happy. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I hope you give Mike all the support you need.
Mike, in the original, when we redid the lift station, was that not part of it? To eliminate the stench?
No. It's decaying, it's falling apart, so they had to rebuild the whole thing.
I understand that.
So yes, and the engineers, I'm going to cut the engineers twice in the last couple of weeks, and they tell me we get to complain all the time, so we call a chemical company, so we're working on it. I hope, and I'm not promising today, but I hope this last, who I talked to today, with the sand in it, and put the chemicals in it, this thing, but it's going to be a little more money, so I'll bring it back.
Didn't Rick just say that there's chemicals?
You're right, and that's why I talked to you today. It's a film that blows up, and it doesn't smell like the listing.
I just think you need to fix it, Mike.
Okay, thank you.
Isn't there somebody, a special group out there that
We have, well, every salesman is a specialist.
Well, no,
Okay.
I'm talking about a corporation that does this on the
Drew's working on it with me. Craig Smith is working on it. He's an engineer, so that's all.
This can't be the first place that we...
Oh, absolutely, it's not. And that's what I said, it's all over the country,
Yeah, but it's all over the country, but somebody's fixing these problems.
I would. I'm not going to lie to you. Listen, I'm doing the best I can, and I promise you, before I leave, there'll be one way or another that won't smell like it does this morning when I was there.
Do we need to do something to help you?
I'm gonna bring Dan the numbers tomorrow, okay, and then we'll bring it back. All right? It's gonna cost us more money, yes. Again.
We won't wait until the next board meeting, we'll get something.
Right.
Thank you.
I mean, it's a tough situation. It's a smell coming out of the ground. I'm sure.
Is there any other public comment?
Camp resident. A couple quick questions or comments and a question. One is, I was fortunate enough to go out and practice the driving range today and get in 250-yard drives, but I would suggest that if that's a concern, which I believe it is because I've been over visiting Mike in the past and some golf balls have gone over into that area, that a sign isn't going to really preclude anybody from hitting. And secondly, I don't see how you would be able to police that, so I would go with what Mike said and look for some alternative lands, maybe put a net up, or start thinking about if you're really concerned about a liability.
We're looking into using golf balls that perhaps don't go with far. Seriously, I mean, there's the floaters. We're looking into different types of golf balls, possibility. If we can't figure it out and it continues, we'll look into netting. But you got to remember now, most of the golfers who belong to the club don't have the capabilities of hitting it that well. It's the outside group, I believe. The outside group
Absolutely.
is the problem.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you, but like I said, you're not going to be able to police golf balls going over unless you have them labeled the names on each one.
I think we'll work on that.
Well, the sign might eliminate some liability.
Okay, so that's what the sign in itself is eliminating some of the liability. Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of how do you police it? How do you get the person? But anyway, you're right. The second question, and I like these night meetings, probably most of the people don't, but I think it works out well. I wish there was a few more people here. But I do have a question, and I don't know if it's for Ariel, for the board. I've had the pleasure of enjoying these meetings sitting in my living room through Zoom, and it's kind of nice, it's convenient, and I'm sure other people have probably utilized it. Tonight, which was a full agenda, it wasn't on Zoom. Unless I missed something somewhere along the line, it was not on Zoom. However, Friday's meeting, which is a discussion of the new general managers, I guess the resumes or whatever, is the only item on the agenda as far as I know. That is going to be a Zoom meeting. So I'm trying to understand where's the correlation there as to why. I listen to the county meetings even today, and they Zoom every single time. So.
Sure, yeah, I can speak to that. So, to be honest with you, I'm actually filling in. So Chrissy has night classes. She's normally the one, obviously, we know that runs the meetings and the Zoom piece of this. So I'm filling in for her right now on Tuesday evenings until her school schedule changes. That's why the Friday morning ones have been done, because Chrissy is here running the show. So at this point, we haven't had Zoom set up strictly because I'm the substitute, and that's really the only reason, and I have no idea how to get it going.
Can you ask her?
I sure can. I've been directed that we weren't doing Zoom for these 2 night meetings, but I will let her know that it's been requested and we can try it for the next one.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Any other public comment? Discussion 2 in front of the board.
Yeah, I got something I'd like to bring up for consideration. I'd like to make an exception, or I'd like for us to consider making an exception to the membership policy. There's a situation, and I'll tell you who it is. And this person does not know I'm doing this. It's Pete the Longfin. And what I'm looking for is to get him a 1-month membership at the Canadian rate. He went through his surgery. He had knee surgery. Between COVID and knee surgery, he just got down here a couple of weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. He was playing limited golf, he's starting to play back again. And him and his wife want to play golf, and there's no membership that we have that he can take advantage of, because he's only going to be here through probably the middle of May or something like that. So I'd like to see us give him make an exception, give him a 30-day membership at whatever the rate is, whatever
The international rate thing that we just came up with?
I'm sorry?
The international rate thing that we came up with?
The international rate, which is what, $700 or $800 a month, whatever it is. Have him pay that amount, and if he's going to stay longer than that, he'll have to pay on his own, whatever the doctors want. But again, this guy's a past champion of the club. He runs a tournament every year at the club, and I just would like to make an exception if at all possible.
I love Pete, but I don't think we can do that. It's just...
Where does it end?
Yeah.
That's my...
Well, it all ends this year, but they're not doing it yet.
Oh, the international, right.
That's all I have to say.
You guys don't want to do it, that's fine. He doesn't, like I said, he did not ask me to do this. I'm doing it somewhere else.
Just about it, to interject, just for your knowledge, the board does have the ability to suspend any policy. So I'm assuming that's a policy. So if you wanted to suspend it, you could. That stuck out in my head because I was looking through the policy manual earlier today. So it is possible. It's not something I would say, where does it end? It's a slippery slope.
Right now, the minimum membership we have is 3 months.
If you take the international membership out, from what we did this year,
just curious.
we have 5 month, 3 month, and then we have a summer membership, which is going on.
But there is a 3-month membership also.
There is. But it's for singles only. You can't do a family membership on a 3-month. Now, I would say...
How about the Advantage card?
Well, he's a resident. The Advantage card is not lower than the resident rate. Now, I will say at the price tag of $7.99, I don't think if you went much past April, it would be feasible. The rates drop, so you would be most likely you could find a lower rate outside of the international price tag, depending on how much you play, I guess.
The downside is he's not going at all.
Yeah, he went in and asked me what could possibly happen, and rightfully so. He was told nothing. But that's the way it's set up right now.
I'll make the assumption Pete has enough friends and he could get somebody's employee bill card and let him know.
I just thought it might be something that we would want to do.
Well, that would give him the best rate he could go on. What is it, $30?
I believe in season is 30 right now, plus that's correct.
So he could play for $30. He wants mine.
Anybody else?
I just had one thing I wanted to follow up on that came up a month or so ago, and I haven't heard where we are with it, and that is we had a brief power outage, and we have generators in place that are supposed to keep our water system flowing even with a power outage, and we ended up having everybody on the 72-hour boil notice. And I would hope that, number one, whatever the issue was, we've got the generators working now, so it's not an issue going forward. park or something. But I was dumbfounded that a short power outage caused the water issue that caused it to what do we have to generate it for?
It's in essence a cascade failure. Big power failed, then the transfer switch that's automatically supposed to fix the generator then failed, which caused the power outage. We have 3 bids to do an automated switchover connect this to Avon Park. Drew's evaluating those now and should have a recommendation for you for next board meeting.
What's the situation with the automatic switch on the generator?
It's fixed, supposedly, but it was supposed to be fixed the last time. I mean, I can't 100% guarantee it's going to work, but it's supposed to.
We just had a service supposed to be working.
We should have double redundancy within the next number of 30 days.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't know if you guys wanted to discuss this, for special meeting Friday, or give Dan any which way to go with it. Do you guys have any feelings up to me? I mean, we haven't got very many qualified applicants, so I just didn't know if you wanted to talk about it or wait till Friday.
I am of the opinion that we need to find a recruiter to go out and find us some valid candidates, because what I saw, in my opinion, what I saw in the way of the applicants so far is not sufficient for what I think we need. But
I kind of agree, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, but I don't know if we want to give Dan any direction by Friday, or...
I don't know if you could find somebody by then, but maybe get some...
have to have the Friday meeting.
Yeah, we have to have a meeting.
Yeah, and just to remember, since it is a special meeting, the only thing that can be discussed at the meeting is the resumes and what you want to do. And I think that the understanding is now that the desire is to go out for a headhunter, and I'm assuming that'll be part of the April 9th meeting.
I haven't talked to anybody about it, I just...
You can discuss it because it involves finding a replacement. So, but there's not going to be no action can be taken at the meeting.
Yeah, we have to have the meeting. It's just,
well,
I didn't know if Dan could look up what a headhunter's
quite simply,
salary is or anything like that.
If you want to, you can come to the meeting at 9 o'clock and say, we're moving to recess. And
yeah, I think there's things to discuss on Friday.
Okay.
If by chance there's a way to find out what a headhunter might cost,
yeah, that's the kind of stuff
and what the limitations are, because you indicated that they couldn't sort for us. We have to give them specifics, and they would have to give us everybody that meets those specifics, which creates a real confusion.
Yeah.
Getting all of that clarified and some idea of what the cost might be that can be presented at the Friday meeting, that would be helpful.
I'll do the best I can.
Yeah, that's only was my intent. It's just because
the other thing that I've had 2 different people come to me about lighting the driving range, and I think that may have been brought up at some other time, and maybe there was some prices put together as to the kind of cost that might be associated with that. Lighting the driving range so that they believe it would be a revenue generator.
you have to see the price of lights, right?
I'm not sure how much revenue.
I'm telling you.
Well, I'm not sure either. I'm just saying I've had a couple people come to me, and I thought maybe this had been approached before.
Yes, we've looked into that, and in fact, it may be part of our capital improvement stuff that we bring to you. I think that in order to, before we do that, I feel like we should make sure we visit the MAP project. I would complete that first, and I would probably suggest that if we were doing that extended time till whenever, we were on the mats. But yes, there will be further discussion on that project. It's a couple years down the road where we have it.
And then I don't know if this is board to board, but I would like to thank Mr. Kirk and his Highlands County for getting involved in getting us vaccinated. I know you played an integral part in getting that all put together, and even though it's public health is supposed to have done it, you did a great job, in my opinion, of getting that pulled together. Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, meeting adjourned.
He needs to be, we should recognize that and come here and listen to it.
time we get a new.